At Crestwood University, everyone knew the name Ethan Hayes, captain of the university swim team, national-level athlete. The boy born into generational wealth with a face people couldn't ignore and talent nobody could compete with. Ethan had spent his entire life at the top. He was the kind of person who walked into a room and naturally became the center of it. Professors admired him, students worshipped him, and his teammates obeyed him almost instinctively. Some called it respect, but most of it was fear. Because Ethan Hayes hated losing. He hated weakness. He hated mistakes. And more than anything, he hated people who threatened his place above everyone else. Cold. That was the word people used most often for him. Not loud or openly cruel, Ethan rarely needed to be. One sharp look from him during practice was enough to silence an entire room. Nobody on the swim team wanted his attention unless it was praise. Still, the entire university chased after him. Girls wanted him. Boys wanted to be him. And Ethan accepted all of it with the same detached confidence, as if admiration was something he naturally deserved. Then Kai Nakamura arrived. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan found himself noticing someone unexpectedly. Kai was 18 and completely different from anyone Ethan had ever met. He wasn't loud or confident. He didn't walk around demanding attention like most athletes at Crestwood. In fact, Kai looked softer than almost everyone around him. Slim build, silver-rimmed glasses, oversized hoodies that made him seem smaller beside the other swimmers. He had gentle features and bright eyes that carried a quiet warmth people noticed immediately without understanding why. Kai had the kind of face that naturally looked kind, the kind of boy people underestimated the second they saw him. Not because he looked pathetic, but because he looked harmless, like someone too gentle for a world this competitive. And maybe he was. Kai came from wealth too. The Nakamura family was powerful and respected, but unlike Ethan, Kai had never been treated like someone important inside his own home. His older brother was perfect. His older sister was brilliant. Kai was simply the child who never seemed good enough. While his siblings received praise, affection, and attention, Kai grew up watching quietly from the side. Forgotten birthdays, ignored achievements, conversations that always seemed to end before reaching him. He learned early how to stay silent about hurt. Maybe that was why he became so careful with others. Kai hated making people uncomfortable. He apologized too much, overthought every interaction, and struggled around loud personalities. Yet despite all of that, there was still something quietly beautiful about him, especially in water. Swimming was the only place Kai truly looked free. The hesitation disappeared from his body the second he entered the pool. His movements became smooth and effortless, almost elegant. In water, he no longer looked fragile. He looked exceptional. Everyone on the swim team noticed it during his first week, including Ethan. From across the pool deck, Ethan watched Kai finish a butterfly set with near-perfect technique despite the nervousness visible on his face. For a brief moment, Ethan's expression sharpened. Because talent recognized talent instantly. Kai was good, scarily good. But Ethan never considered him a real threat. Not seriously. To Ethan, Kai still seemed too soft for competition. Too emotional. Too easy to overwhelm. Someone like him could never survive the pressure that came with being the best. So Ethan ignored him. Unfortunately, the rest of the team didn't. At first, the comments sounded harmless. Careful, pretty boy might drown. Why does he look nervous all the time? He belongs in an art club, not a swim team. The locker room usually filled with laughter afterward. Kai tried to smile through it. Tried pretending the comments didn't bother him. But the teasing only became worse with time. Some teammates hid his swim gear before practice. Others mocked his quiet voice or purposely bumped into him in the hallways just to hear his soft apologies afterward. And the worst part? Most of them acted that way because Ethan allowed it. Ethan never directly bullied Kai. He never insulted him openly or joined the teasing himself. But Kai noticed the faint amusement on Ethan's face whenever the others laughed at him. The entertained look in his eyes whenever Kai became flustered or embarrassed. And because Ethan Hayes was captain, nobody ever stopped. Eventually, Kai stopped reacting too. He adjusted his glasses quietly, lowered his gaze, and continued swimming as if he couldn't hear them anymore. The truth was, he had already spent most of his life learning how to survive being unwanted. The only person who treated him differently was head coach Daniel Mercer. Coach Mercer saw potential in Kai immediately, not just as a swimmer, but as a person. "You hold yourself back too much," he told Kai one evening after practice while handing him a towel. "You swim like you're apologizing for taking space." Kai blinked softly at him, surprised. "I don't mean to." "I know," Mercer replied gently. "That's the problem." Nobody had ever spoken to Kai like that before. Nobody had ever made him feel like he deserved to be there. And maybe that was why Kai kept enduring everything quietly. Because for the first time in a long while, he had finally found one place where he truly wanted to stay. Even if Ethan Hayes was standing at the center of it. As days passed, Kai genuinely tried to fit in with the swim team at Crestwood University. He listened to conversations during breaks, smiled whenever someone included him, and quietly tried talking to his teammates whenever he got the chance. Sometimes after practice, he stayed a little longer near the lockers, hoping he could slowly become closer to everyone else. But no matter how hard Kai tried, there always seemed to be an invisible distance between him and the team. Conversations became quieter around him. People laughed more comfortably when he walked away. Nobody ever really invited him anywhere after practice ended. Still, Kai kept trying. Even with Ethan Hayes. Their conversations were always short, usually about practice timings or training, but Kai quickly understood why everyone called Ethan cold. Because he really was. Ethan rarely spoke unless necessary. He carried himself with the same sharp confidence everywhere, and somehow the entire team adjusted themselves around him naturally. Nobody wanted his disapproval. Nobody wanted to disappoint him. At first, Ethan had dismissed Kai completely. To him, Kai was just another freshman swimmer who would eventually disappear under pressure like many others before him. Someone too soft for a competitive environment like this. But as the days passed, Ethan found himself noticing Kai more and more despite not wanting to. Kai was good. Dangerously good. Every movement in the water looked effortless, almost natural in a way Ethan rarely saw. Kai didn't fight the water like most swimmers did. He moved with it. And that irritated Ethan more than he cared to admit. Because for the first time in years, someone quietly made him think about his position. Ethan Hayes had always been the best. The captain. The star swimmer. The person nobody could reach. Then Kai Nakamura arrived and slowly started closing that distance without even realizing it. Ethan would never admit it aloud, not even to himself completely, but somewhere deep inside, Kai made him uneasy, which was probably why Ethan never stopped the bullying. He never directly joined in, but there were moments when he enjoyed watching Kai become uncomfortable under everyone's attention. Watching him lower his gaze awkwardly after someone mocked him. Watching him struggle to fit in. Because a part of Ethan wanted Kai to leave the team permanently. If Kai disappeared, things would return to normal. Simple. Predictable. Safe. But Kai never left. That was the problem. No matter how people treated him, Kai still showed up every single day. Ethan noticed everything. The way teammates purposely excluded Kai from conversations. The way they laughed whenever he apologized too quickly. The way Kai quietly adjusted his glasses whenever he became nervous. And somehow, despite all of it, Kai still smiled politely at everyone the next morning. Still tried talking to them. Still greeted people kindly. Still came back. At first, Ethan thought that was weakness. Now, he slowly realized it wasn't. Most people in Kai's position would have quit already. They would stop showing up, transfer teams, or disappear quietly before things became worse. But Kai endured all of it without letting it change who he was. And Ethan Hayes knew that wasn't weakness. That was strength. A different kind from his own, but strength nonetheless. Then came the day Coach Mercer announced new training pairs. The entire team gathered near the pool while Mercer read names from a clipboard one by one. Most swimmers barely paid attention until one sentence suddenly changed the atmosphere completely. Kai Nakamura will train with Ethan Hayes from now on. Silence filled the room instantly. Several swimmers looked shocked. Others looked openly confused. A few looked jealous. because almost nobody trained directly with Ethan. Some upperclassmen had spent years trying to earn that opportunity, yet Kai, the quiet freshman nobody truly accepted, had gotten paired with him within weeks. Whispers immediately spread through the pool area. Seriously? Why him? He's lucky. A few girls near the bleachers looked toward Kai sympathetically. Poor Kai. Kai stood frozen near the back of the group, fingers tightening quietly around the towel in his hands as everyone stared at him. Across the pool, Ethan's expression darkened immediately. Furious. The second he heard Kai's name beside his own, irritation twisted sharply in his chest. He didn't want Kai as his partner. Kai was too soft, too quiet, too fragile-looking to stand beside him. Or maybe that wasn't the real problem. Maybe the real problem was that Kai Nakamura was far too good. And Ethan Hayes hated that more than anything. The first few practices with Ethan Hayes felt like a nightmare for Kai. From the beginning, Kai knew Ethan didn't want him there. Ethan never said it directly during training, but Kai could feel it in the way Ethan ignored him outside instructions. The way his expression hardened whenever Kai came too close. The cold silence that always existed between them, no matter how much time passed. Still, Kai pushed himself harder every day. Part of him wanted Ethan to acknowledge him. Unfortunately, Ethan only became more difficult to understand. Outside the pool, he acted like Kai barely existed. But inside the water, Ethan noticed everything. Kai realized it slowly. Ethan memorized his lap times, noticed where his breathing changed, watched which turns gave him speed, studied every weakness before Kai himself even noticed it. And Kai started doing the same. Without realizing it, they became obsessed with keeping up with each other. If Ethan improved his timing, Kai stayed late trying to match it. If Kai perfected a turn, Ethan silently redid the same drill until he surpassed him again. Neither of them admitted it aloud. But the competition between them slowly became intense enough for the entire team to notice. Coach Daniel Mercer noticed it too. One evening, while watching them race side by side through the water, Mercer quietly lowered his clipboard with the faintest smile. Because for the first time in years, Ethan Hayes was no longer swimming alone at the top. And strangely enough, Kai was the only person capable of reaching him. Weeks later, both Ethan and Kai were selected to represent Crestwood University at an upcoming competition. Nobody seemed surprised. By then, the entire team knew they were the strongest swimmers Crestwood had. That night, practice ended later than usual. Most of the team had already left, leaving the pool area quiet except for the sound of dripping water and the low hum of lights above them. Coach Mercer grabbed his bag before leaving. "Lock up before you go," he told them casually. Then it was just Ethan and Kai alone. Kai sat near the edge of the pool, breathing slowly while drying his hair with a towel. A few feet away, Ethan leaned back against the bench in complete silence. Something about him felt wrong tonight. Tense. Kai noticed it immediately. He didn't know Ethan had argued with his girlfriend earlier that evening. He didn't know Ethan's anger had already been building for hours before practice even started. Still, Kai found himself quietly looking at him. And Ethan noticed. "What?" Kai blinked. Ethan turned his head slightly, eyes sharp. "What are you staring at?" Kai immediately looked down. "Nothing." Silence filled the room again, but it felt heavier now. Then Ethan suddenly spoke again. "You think you're better than me?" Kai looked up in confusion. "What?" Ethan laughed quietly, though there was nothing amused about it. "Don't act innocent." Kai's fingers tightened around the towel in his lap. "I don't think that." "No." Ethan stood up slowly. "Then why does Mercer suddenly care about you so much?" Kai stayed silent. That silence irritated Ethan more than it should have. For weeks now, Ethan had watched Coach Mercer praise Kai more and more. Watched teammates slowly start noticing him differently. Watched Kai become someone impossible to ignore. And the worst part? Ethan himself couldn't stop watching him either. "You think, because you swim well, you can replace me?" Ethan asked coldly. Kai immediately shook his head. "I never wanted to replace anyone." Ethan stepped closer. "You're trying to outshine me." "No," Kai answered softly. "I'm just trying to do my best." That sentence hit Ethan harder than it should have. because Kai sounded honest. And somehow that honesty made Ethan feel even worse. Kai slowly stood up, clearly wanting to leave before the situation became worse. "Where are you going?" Ethan suddenly asked. Kai hesitated. I think I should go." Ethan grabbed his wrist before he could walk away. Kai froze instantly. The grip wasn't painful yet, but it was tight enough to stop him completely. "Ethan, you know what I hate about you?" Ethan's voice dropped lower. "You act like you don't even realize what you're doing." Kai looked genuinely confused. And that expression finally snapped something inside Ethan. Because Kai truly didn't understand. Didn't understand how talented he was. How quickly people were noticing him. How easily he had entered Ethan's thoughts without permission. Kai instinctively tried pulling his wrist back. "I should go." Ethan grabbed him harder. "Stop walking away while I'm talking to you." Kai lost balance slightly from the sudden force. His shoulder hit the lockers behind him with a sharp sound. The noise echoed loudly through the empty pool area. For one horrible second, neither of them moved. Then Ethan realized what he had done. Kai's glasses had fallen crookedly from his face. One side of the frame bent awkwardly while a small cut near his eyebrows slowly started bleeding. But what shattered Ethan completely wasn't the injury. It was Kai's expression. Fear. Real fear. Kai pressed one hand weakly against his wrist while trying to steady his breathing. "Ethan, you're hurting me." His voice shook badly. And suddenly Ethan felt sick. He let go immediately as if burned. "Kai." Kai stumbled backward the second Ethan released him. That hurt more than Ethan expected. Not the distance itself. The fact that Kai looked terrified of him. "I didn't mean to." Ethan stepped forward instinctively, but Kai immediately flinched. And that single movement made Ethan's chest feel unbearably heavy. Kai quickly picked up his glasses from the floor with trembling hands. The cracked lens reflected under the pool lights as he stared at it silently for a second. Then his breathing finally broke. "Why would you do that?" His voice sounded small, painfully small. And despite how hard he tried holding himself together, tears slowly slipped down his face anyway. Ethan had never hated himself more in his life. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "Kai, I swear I didn't mean to hurt you." But Kai wouldn't even look at him anymore. Every time Ethan tried getting closer, Kai stepped back again. As if Ethan was dangerous. And maybe he was. Finally, Kai whispered a broken, "Just leave me alone," before walking away. Ethan remained standing there long after Kai disappeared. That night, sleep never came. Every time Ethan closed his eyes, he saw Kai flinching, the blood near his eyebrow, the fear in his eyes. And for the first time in years, Ethan was forced to admit something he hated. He had been afraid of Kai from the beginning, not because Kai was weak, but because Kai was good enough to stand beside him. And somehow, realizing he had genuinely hurt Kai left Ethan with a strange, unbearable feeling sitting heavily in his chest. Guilt. But beneath that guilt was something even more dangerous. Because Ethan Hayes had never cared about hurting anyone before. Yet the thought of Kai crying because of him made something inside Ethan ache in a way he didn't understand at all. That night, Kai couldn't sleep either. No matter how tightly he pulled the blanket around himself or how many times he closed his eyes, his mind kept returning to the same moment again and again. Ethan's voice, the force of his grip, the fear he felt when his back hit the lockers. Tears slipped silently down Kai's face faster than he could stop them. He knew Ethan disliked him. Kai had known that from the beginning. But he never imagined Ethan hated him that much. The thought hurt more than it should have. His wrist still ached faintly, and the small cut near his eyebrow burned every time he touched it. One side of his glasses was cracked now, resting quietly on the table beside his bed. Kai stared at them for a long time, then slowly lowered his head into his hands. For the first time since arriving at Crestwood University, the loneliness truly hit him all at once. He had nobody. Nobody to call. Nobody to talk to. Nobody who would sit beside him and tell him things would eventually be okay. His family barely cared enough to notice when he was hurting. His teammates treated him like someone easy to laugh at. And now even the one place he loved most, swimming, had started feeling painful too.
Kai tried so hard.
He tried fitting in, tried smiling through the humiliation, tried pretending things didn't hurt him as deeply as they actually did. But maybe some people were simply never meant to belong anywhere. That thought alone made something inside him finally break. More tears slipped down his face as he covered his mouth weakly to stop himself from making noise. Because even now, after everything, Kai was still trying not to bother anyone. And somehow that made the loneliness worse. After a long time, Kai slowly reached for his phone beside the bed. His fingers trembled slightly as he opened the university swimming group chat. Then, after staring at the screen silently for nearly a minute, he typed only a few words. "I'm leaving the swim team.
I'm sorry."
Kai looked at the message for a few seconds longer before finally pressing send. And the moment it disappeared into the chat, something inside him felt unbearably empty. Because despite everything, swimming had been the only place where Kai Nakamura ever truly felt alive. After everything that happened that night, will Kai walk away from swimming forever? Or will Ethan finally realize what Kai truly means to him? Find out in the next episode of A Lone Star and His Broken Angel tomorrow.